Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Y Pod, where we highlight everyday Wyoming leaders. Excited today for you to see and hear a conversation with someone really working to make a great difference, not only in our community today, but our community for generations to come. Joined by Rolinda Sample from the Cheyenne Boys and Girls Club. Rolinda, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really my pleasure.
So before we dive into the club itself, as a little kid, did you sit around thinking you would be the executive director of a Boys and Girls Club?
Absolutely not. I actually grew up thinking that I might be a banker, and I have never been a banker. However, I have worked basically my entire career in the nonprofit world. I started out with time at a Chamber of Commerce in Nebraska, and then several years later I became the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce in Laramie and was there for 7 years. And then we moved to Western Nebraska, and I was actually a director of the hospital foundation and did community relations work there. And then I was called to come over and serve as the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Cheyenne, and served in that capacity for 5 years. And during that time, I was also on the board for the Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne. And when our executive director for the Boys and Girls Club said, "I'm moving back to Montana," I called the board president and I said, well, we need to have a meeting and decide, what our next steps are for the Boys and Girls Club. And he called me the next morning and he said, "I want you to take the job." And so my husband had already left for work for the day. So I called him and I said, well, I'm quitting my job today and I'm going to go work for Boys and Girls Club.
And of all the different things that you've been involved in, you knew a lot about the club because you've been on the board. Was it exactly what you expected, or even with that involvement, was it bigger, more different than what you thought it was going to be?
Well, it was a lot different. And our son actually had been a member of the Boys and Girls Club for 5 years before that. And so I kind of invaded his space, but I had the parent perspective, I had the board perspective. And, I used to think, well, there's not a lot of activity that happens before the kids arrive. And boy, was I wrong. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes every day at the club. And it is also very important work, working on safety plans, working on what programs we're going to do, how to best serve the kids, reaching out to parents. All of those things are important as well.
Well, they're lucky to have someone who's so excited about it. And I know you're excited about it because we've talked through some of the photos that we're going to walk people through. As I pull those up, a question for you. There may be people, believe it or not, who aren't familiar with Boys and Girls Club. While I pull those photos up, could you maybe just tell people a little bit about what Boys and Girls Club is and the mission of the clubs?
Exactly, I will do that. The Boys and Girls Club mission is really to help the kids who need us most to reach their full potential as a productive, caring citizen and being responsible as an adult. And so we really do things that are very purposeful in our work to help the kids grow up and have that support that they need. And Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne has been around since 1997. And we are actually one of 7 organizations across the state of Wyoming. And you will see on the screen, it's a picture of what we call our new building. It's on West Jefferson Road in South Cheyenne. And we have actually been in this facility now for 6 years.
Obviously something you'd have a lot of pride in, especially when you say it's a new building. And what we'll do is walk through some of the programs, even though we're going to see, between 8 and a dozen different shots of things you're involved in. They really just scratch the surface of what you're doing. But the first one here on the screen is, I think, something of what people would think of as a fairly traditional activity for a Boys and Girls Club.
Definitely. Boys and Girls Club, we have three focus areas. We have academic success and helping the kids with their homework and things like that after school. And then we also have healthy lifestyles, which this is a part of, and the physical activity. And then we have character and citizenship. And those are our three core areas. And here you will see our flag football championship team, who was very excited. They came together as a group of kids and just really cheered each other on. It's that sportsmanship. It's all of those other kinds of things that we go on to teach the kids. And sometimes the kids have so much fun that they don't realize that they are learning those meaningful things as well.
Well, I've seen different philosophies about learning. I wish all of the philosophies about having fun and being involved in doing things that are active, I wish they'd been more prevalent when I was in school. But it's great to see kids out having fun with each other, turning into the world that we want it to be, right?
Exactly. And, you know, on our Boys and Girls Club, we have 12 acres of land. So we were able to have flag football right there at our facility, which is great.
And on the screen now, people will see something that, again, when you want to talk about hope for the future, turn the world into what we want it to be, this is tied into that in a fairly good way.
Exactly. You will see Michael Martinez Montano, and he is our most recent State Youth of the Year member from our Boys and Girls Club. And this was the year that he was visiting the state capitol and the legislature, and you will see a number of the legislators who are greeting him and the youth behind him as well, as they're visiting and learning more about our state. And it's just wonderful to share those Youth of the Year experiences with people all across the state. We have had with the Youth of the Year, it's an amazing program where the kids work really hard in developing their application. So it's similar to a college application or an extensive job application that they might go through. But there is an interview section, there's essays that they write, they do a speech and give that speech throughout the community and then in front of a panel of judges. So it is a wonderful experience. The kids are also rewarded quite well for this, not only with the recognition that they receive just as an individual, but they also receive college scholarships. And the State Youth of the Year, we've had a wonderful partnership with the University of Wyoming, where the university has allowed our State Youth of the Year to receive a 4-year tuition and fee scholarship. And that it has been a wonderful thing for the kids. And Michael just graduated from high school this year and is headed to UW. So we're very proud of him.
The world gets another cowboy.
Exactly.
And for anyone in the community who might at some point come across notification or an alert about the idea that there's going to be a Youth of the Year ceremony, be it in Cheyenne or in one of the other communities where there's a club, if you want to feel good about where the world is going, go to that event. Because hearing the presentations from the potential Youths of the Year is just incredible. And I'm sure you hear that a lot, Rolinda.
It is very inspiring, and we always showcase our Youth of the Year. So Riley Jane Anderson is our current Youth of the Year, and she will be speaking at our Back a Kid breakfast. And that is a tradition that we have to share the Youth of the Year program, but also for the youth to share how the club has impacted their life.
Definitely get out and attend those events. Again, you feel good about the community, but really just the world in general. If this is where it's going, it's a good thing.
Exactly. I have people tell me that is their favorite thing.
It's wonderful to see. And not to coin the phrase, but as wonderful to see another fairly traditional project, but maybe something people wouldn't expect out of a place where kids go, because I think we might expect kids aren't that into some activities, athletics, yes, they'd all get into, but something like art they might not get into. But obviously these kids enjoyed themselves. I enjoyed looking at it. Could you tell us a little bit about not only this program, but other programs like this?
Sure. So arts is one of the mainstays of Boys and Girls Club. Some clubs have more of a crafts type of activity, but we have chosen to dive a little bit deeper and have fine arts. So we have Miss Tess here in the photo and a group of members of the Boys and Girls Club that she has taught different techniques in the arts. And Tess has done a great job. Each year we have a participation in our local art show, and you will, if you have a chance to go and see, it is amazing because the kids have a variety of art pieces that they have learned, different techniques, different mediums. And with the local art show, then we select our first place winners who go on to then compete at the 8-state regional art show. And we also have photography. So those are both combined. And at the regional art show, Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne has been the host for the past 3 years. And we've had about 700 pieces of work that has come to us. And we have judges from the community who come in and select the 8-state regions winners who go on to the national competition. And if they are selected as the national winner in their age and category, then they are displayed at the National Boys and Girls Club of America office in Atlanta for a whole year. So it's really a fun thing with the arts program.
Also seems like an amazing way to show kids who may not have had the funnest experience with education. I know for myself, I wasn't that engaged when I was a younger kid in school, and showing them other things that they could get involved in, other passions they could have for their life, potential careers they could be involved in.
Yes, that is a very important piece. We've had some very successful kids in their art program with the fine art and photography. We've had one young member several years ago who actually joined the art guild and displayed her photography, and as they had a show there and a sale, she was selling her pieces before they were even displayed. So it is fun to actually see that the kids can have a career in something that they may not even realize that they could enjoy. And then it's just really fun too, because they have a way to express themselves in a positive manner. And I love that aspect about art as well.
You take them in a lot of positive directions. This one, not only some fun with it, but that idea of tying into a potential career is connected to this photo as well.
Exactly. We have an entrepreneurship camp that we have run for our teens during the summertime, and you will see a young lady who aspires to be a cosmetologist. And so she worked on her little business plan during the entrepreneurship camp, and she set up a mini booth as we had our little trade show, and she was explaining how she wanted to be a cosmetologist, and she's of course having fun working on the hair of one of our other members, so that always makes it kind of fun for the other kids too.
And for folks who can't see it really clearly on the screen behind the tagline for her business, Starshine Cosmetics, is shine like the star you were born to be.
Yes, and it really helps the kids to realize that they can dream anything and they can work really hard and have that happen for their life. And this is another example of how we are working with that career exploration and helping the kids to realize that they may have never been experienced a career before, but there are other things out there that may be what they want to grow up and have as their passion. And this is actually held at our site over at Laramie County Community College. Our teen site has started a couple years ago over at the college, and we are truly integrated in the activities on campus. And our teens, they visit different classrooms throughout campus. They go up to the university extension area and have activities in the teaching kitchen, and they eat in the cafeteria just as they were a student on campus. And so getting them into the labs and the classrooms on the college campus has been really interesting for them, so they can meet with the professors and learn more about the offerings right here in our own community.
And folks will see in some of these other photos that concept of broadening their horizons, broadening their perspectives. It kind of runs as a theme through a lot of these. Here you have a young person who not only is tied into your entrepreneurial program, but also kind of a community-facing aspect of what you do as well.
Exactly. We have a young member here who was helping out Boys and Girls Club by helping cut a radio spot for Back a Kid Breakfast a couple years ago. And we also have this great partnership with various businesses in the community. And here you see one of our friends, Brenda Foley with KFBC, who helps teach the kids, you know, what is the soundboard, and let's work on your commercial and let's bring this together. And though this young man helped us cut our radio spot for a Boys and Girls Club promotion, he also had that exposure to what that career might look like.
He looks like someone who could go into marketing.
Yes, definitely. And they have Brenda loves Hawaii, and so anyway, they're peacing out with their alohas.
I love the idea of having the kids that you serve also be a face in the community through the Youth of the Year, through a variety of things they do. We'll get to see a little bit more of that as well. But this thought of tying or connecting to the community, there are a variety of ways that you're not only engaged in the community, but I think you're also changing the perceptions that kids might have of different people in the community. When kids throughout any age group tend to see people in law enforcement, they see people who are law enforcement. But that doesn't seem like what you see on the screen here.
Exactly. We haven't used as an opportunity to bring in people with various careers, including law enforcement, actually into our club as well. And it really helps show the kids that they can ask questions, they can interact closely with each other in positive manners. And here we've had the law enforcement, they were playing bumper pool with the kids, and of course the kids love a good challenge, and they challenge staff and visitors, so we always love that. And when the kids win, we give them what we call Be Great Bucks, for being a good character, also having that good sportsmanship and getting along with others in the community. And as a further example of this, Boys and Girls Club has been a host to Neighborhood Night Out for the past several years. And the concept of the Neighborhood Night Out is for people in their neighborhoods to get to know each other and come together as kind of that community in that neighborhood. And that was started by the Cheyenne Police Department, and then the law enforcement, they actually come over and participate and get to know the citizens in the neighborhood as well. And so we always enjoy that interactivity between our law enforcement, our first responders, et cetera, in the community, and coming and talk to our kids.
It's one of the things you make me appreciate about Wyoming, as you say it, in our communities, law enforcement doesn't need to be separate. They are a part of our community. So I love that you're involving them in that way. Now, this isn't law enforcement, but an interesting tie again to the broader world. The gentleman that we see on the screen is obviously serving in a branch of the military, but maybe not the branch that folks would think of in Wyoming.
Well, mostly for Cheyenne, people think of the Air Force, and we do have a great partnership with F.E. Warren Air Force Base here. We also have a great partnership with the Navy through the USS Cheyenne and the USS Wyoming. And our friends from the USS Cheyenne, anytime they are in town, they love to come over and visit the Boys and Girls Club. And they talk about what the career is for being in the military and sharing that information with the kids. The kids always ask the best questions about, when you're in the submarine, can you see the dolphins or whatever? And we always love that. But we also have an opportunity for that fun interaction. And here you see a game of horse playing basketball. So it's always a fun thing for them.
A much more dramatic shot here.
This was a couple years ago. Cheyenne was home to Navy Day, and we actually have a photo here of our fields, and one of the leapfrogs is actually landing on our field. And we invited our kids, family members, donors, and other kids from the community to come out and celebrate Navy Day in Cheyenne. And it was a fabulous experience. The people were lining the streets, stopped with their cars to see all of the leapfrogs actually landing at the Boys and Girls Clubs. So it was quite a fun experience.
And this one I initially thought was the same event, but actually this one wasn't connected to the other gentleman that we saw in uniform.
No, this was actually a part of Navy Day because they brought out the STEM activities that you can actually have a career with in the military. And so we have some of our kids working with different robotics and different activities there. So it was a very popular event, and we always love to bring in those neat opportunities for the kids.
And speaking of opportunities that came in, this arose out of a community member, I believe.
Exactly. We had a community member who said, I have a lot of Legos and I love collecting the Lego kits. And I was wondering if the kids might be interested in putting some of the kits together, and let's build a Lego city. And this is a small piece, a very small piece of the Lego city that the kids worked on, building the individual components, and then they brought that together in a city that actually encompassed half of our gymnasium. And it was quite an amazing activity for the kids. It really helped with all of their building and creativity and following directions, all of that kind of stuff. But it was a fun celebration to see that Lego city come together.
And for anyone who's skeptical about, young people and level of focus, I think this shows when they buy into something, they can do some pretty amazing stuff.
Exactly. And it was members of all ages who worked on the different kits, and it was a full fun activity for the whole club. It was wonderful.
And you didn't have to disassemble it yourself, correct?
I didn't. And I believe the lady, generous lady in the community who allowed us to use her Lego kits, she took them back home. I didn't have to store them, but the passion that the kids were left with in building and being creativity, using their creativity and their passion for Legos, and her passion has been passed on to the kids. So many of the wish lists have come back as Legos were part of that.
You excited some young engineers, maybe.
Exactly.
Now, you talk about things that people might not expect the club to be involved in. For me, at least, this one definitely got my attention, but it also fell in that category of, I wonder what they were doing with this.
Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne has not really had dance as part of one of our activities until about 6 years ago. And we started a Dancing with the Stars fundraiser. And part of that fundraiser was to showcase the kids and to give them an opportunity to dance and learn some self-confidence beyond with this in dancing in front of 600 people in a sold out venue, confidence of being near each other and working as a partnership and as a team. All of those kind of background things really came out from our Dancing with the Stars program. And so the kids were rehearsing here the night before our big Dancing with the Stars event that year. And it was wonderful. It was a confidence builder for the kids, definitely. People have attended that program and said, oh, I love all of the celebrities from the community and the professionals from the community who have come together, but the kids are truly that grand finale. And stars of the show, so to speak. And actually our Dancing with the Stars and all of our arts programs have been awarded, I would say, because we were recognized as one of 3 Boys and Girls Club organizations. We had San Francisco, we had Boston, and Cheyenne, Wyoming that were featured as a white paper to talk about the collaborations in the community in working with the arts. And so our Dancing with the Stars event was featured in that because it did take so many people from the community to help support this and give that gift of dance to our Boys and Girls Club members.
Which sounds very much like, going back to the beginning of this conversation, the mission you're trying to serve, and what you're doing not only for the kids, but also for the community of today, the community of tomorrow. It just sounds like a great example of everything the club is trying to do.
Exactly. And bringing the kids as more integrated into their community and helping build a better community for them and for their future generations as well.
It's a great cause, Rolinda. Plus, it looks like a lot of fun. And then we switch gears into not only a very different environment, but still the same mentality. Many schools around Wyoming have gotten involved in either greenhouse projects or growing projects. Not surprised at all to see you really deeply involved in this as well. Could you tell folks a little bit about this program?
This is a photo of our gardens at Boys and Girls Club. And several years ago, we developed this wonderful partnership with the Laramie County Master Gardeners program. And we have master gardeners who bless us with their time and their talent and knowledge in showing the kids the love of gardening. And so not only the flowers, but fruits and vegetables that the master gardeners and our kids grow throughout the year. The kids use the produce to do taste testing, and maybe they've grown things like lima beans or something that they've never tasted before, or squash, and so they have an opportunity to taste different fruits and vegetables. And then we let them use that in part of our cooking program through our Healthy Habits program. And then if we have additional produce, we also give that out to our families. And with the Healthy Habits program, that has been supported also through Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Wyoming Caring Foundation as a partnership all across the state of Wyoming at the Boys and Girls Clubs. And part of it is the exercise that I spoke about before, but also the nutritional program, and having the youth who have nutritious food to eat. They understand the food labels, sizing of the portions. All of those are building components for a healthy lifestyle.
As I said at the beginning of the conversation, we were going to cover a lot in terms of number of items, but yet we're only scratching the surface. If there are folks who have been watching this and thinking like I have, how amazing it is what you're doing in the community, if they wanted to learn more about what you're doing, if they wanted to stay in touch with what you're doing as a club, what are the ways that they might stay in touch with you, Rolinda?
Boys and Girls Club does have a presence with social media, so check us out on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. We also have opportunities for volunteers, usually to come into our facility or for us to go out to the businesses, for instance, like with job shadowing or learning about the careers. We always are looking for people to help serve on various committees or our board. So there's a number of ways that people can get involved in the Boys and Girls Club and really get to experience that joy of helping our young folks.
I hear not infrequently people talk about the world in a skeptical or cynical way. There isn't any good news out there. If folks are looking for a way to see good news, to be optimistic about the future, maybe give back a little bit to this next generation, couldn't advocate strongly enough for them to get involved with you, Rolinda. Thanks for everything you do in the community. And also thanks for doing this today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to always talk a little bit about what is happening at the Boys and Girls Club and in our great community.